Welcome to our lecture series on scholarly writing for publication. And this is lecture 13. And in lecture 13, I'll be handling the refining phase of theory building. If you recall in lecture, right from lecture 4, lecture 5 up to lecture 12, we've been discussing theory building. And just to remind you, I'll give you the figure that we have been following on the screen here. If you recall, our first phase of theory building was a conceptualized phase. Our second stage was operationalized phase. Our third phase was confirm phase. Our fourth was the apply phase. And the fifth now is the refine phase. So refine phase will be the last stage of theory building. And then after this, I'll take you through in lecture 14, conceptualization and operationalization, but more specifically handling the question of theoretical models and conceptual models. I know there's a certain amount of confusion that comes up when you are discussing conceptual models and theoretical models. If you ask people to tell you whether conceptual models are theoretical models, many people do not have really answers, convincing answers. They will tell you, no, you can use these two. You can always interchange, right, these two and have conceptual stroke theoretical model or vice versa. And I want to draw a distinction between that, since we are dealing with theory building, and again, conceptual and theory, conceptual models and theoretical models come from theories. So I intend to draw a distinction between that in our lecture 14, and possibly that should take us also to lecture 15 and lecture 16, because the distinction cannot simply come within around 20 minutes or 30 minutes. We need to discuss a number of issues so that you understand. Anyway, you've seen the diagram, which is on the screen there. And again, as you can see, you can take the approach that allows you to move from deductive to inductive approach, and that is theory to practice. That's what I call deductive inductive approach, right? You start with theory, then you go to practice, but you can also have, you can do it the other way around. That is the inductive deductive approach. So you start from practice and then build a theory, ladies and gentlemen. So those are what we see, ladies and gentlemen, and we now turn to our lecture 13, the refined phase. Now the refined phase, ladies and gentlemen, presents a tenacity, right, challenge to the theory builder of applied disciplines because of the real world focus and the ever-changing world. Then, of course, applied theories need to be continually refined to assure their present-day integrity. In other words, they must be examined, they must be interrogated, and that's why the lines between the apply and refine phases are blurred, ladies and gentlemen. So applied theories are never finished, and the theories must undergo continuous assessment of their fit and utility in the ever-changing world of practice. So the refined phase involves a variety of activities that may push the theorist to revisit all of the other theory building phases, ladies and gentlemen. And by necessity, the refined phase occurs over time, because we keep on refining and refining at the time when we come up with a robust theory. So the intentional outcome of this phase is to ensure that the theory is current, the theory is relevant, and that it continues to work in the practical world, ladies and gentlemen. It also ensures that when the theory is no longer useful, it is disconfirmed, right? It is adapted or discarded And new theories then are developed to explain this phenomenon and these situations. So that's why we go to this stage of refining the theory, right? Of course, there are those whose usefulness is outlived. And then, of course, when that happens, then you must come up with a new theory. So the refined phase marks the ongoing and iterative nature of theory building in applied sciences, ladies and gentlemen. So the purpose of this lecture, therefore, is to describe the specific approaches to the refined phase of theory building in applied disciplines. But more specifically, ladies and gentlemen, this lecture will define the refined phase, right? It will describe the general inputs to this phase. It will present a refined phase case example, and then we will describe the outputs of the refined phase. And that's where we shall end and close. And I don't think this lecture will take a very long time, really. But we should be able to understand this concept very well. So what is refinement, ladies and gentlemen? The refined phase requires additional efforts in possibly all the other phases. In other words, there must be additional effort in trying to understand and refine your initial ideas that went into the theory building process, depending on what the reality says or the reality requires. So as you can see, continuous refinement of an applied theory is a process, right, keeping the theory under the microscope, because we are examining the theory, asking questions about its continued integrity, and of course being willing to open up any and all of the theory building phases in light of the present state of that theory. And of course that becomes very critical and very important. So the refined phase suggests that a successful theory builder's work is not done and to settle in for a long term. Now, of course, that means that the work continues to be done, right? So work is not yet finished, right? So you keep on testing and refining the theory from time to time. And of course, a successful theory builder's work is not done. And to settle in, we really need to do more work in this case. Now, of course, given a mature theory, other scholars can enter into the realm with theory, such as to confirm or disconfirm, and of course also testing it in new settings and other environments for which the theory was not intended or even envisaged, right? And to reconceptualize this thing. Now, the act of refinement can add up to or challenge the robustness and utility of the theory. And of course, these become very important aspects to consider at the refined stage. So let's look at the inputs to the refined phase theory. And as I said, it may sound trite, but the two most important inputs to the refined phases or refined phase are probably open minds and thoughtful minds, ladies and gentlemen. Now, of course, I'll talk about these minds very shortly and briefly, and then thereafter continue with the discussions. So when we talk about open minds, the person developing the theory or the team developing the theory behind the scenes there can get to the point of being too invested in the theory they have created. And it may be hard for them to pull back and start thinking about that theory objectively. Yet, given objectivity, who else would be in a better position to question, refine, and sustain the theory? It is actually the developer. So conversely, newcomers to the theory do not have the same stake as the theory originator. Thus, they more likely have the potential of an open mind. Of course, having that open mind becomes an important aspect. So, How about the second aspect? That is the thoughtful minds, right? Now, thoughtful minds will intelligently assess and question the sum of the theory documentation, that is the strengths and the deficiencies of the theory. And this perspective, along with the awareness of changes in practice settings, right, can guide continuous refinement efforts, ladies and gentlemen. So the reward is that added insight gained through refinement has great potential in sustaining the life of a theory and in setting its limits. And in addition, the secondary outputs of the apply phase are direct inputs in the refined phase, and you are aware of that. And these are the subtleties gained throughout applying the theory in a variety of settings. Now, these various applications suggest ways of potentially modifying the theory, and insights may arise that lead the theorists to consider shrinking the boundary of the theory, and other theorists may wish to engage in a theory building effort but use an alternative philosophical orientation and a research paradigm. Different measurements and assessment tools may be found, ladies and gentlemen. All of these may move the theorist into a previous phase of theory building to make adjustments. Now, I'm going to give you an example of the refined case, for example. Now, in the refined phase of theory building in applied disciplines, all aspects of conceptualize, operationalize, confirm, and apply phases are fair game, ladies and gentlemen. There's no one path for approaching refinement. And once an avenue is selected, it will be aligned with one of the theory building phases. Now, at that point, the guidance from that specific phase come into play as they did when they were first pursued. Now, a refined phase can, case example, will bring out these aspects that I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to give you an illustration so that these things are articulated properly. Now, the example is a theory of performance, right? So I want to use an example of the theory of performance. Theory of performance. So that theory of performance was specifically built to explain performance in human systems or organizations that have been created for productive purposes. Now, if you trace and try to understand this theory very well, the origins of the theory of performance are quite modest and evolved over the years through continuous refinements, ladies and gentlemen. And what follows is a sequence of synopsis of evolutionarily applied theory building events that started from a very modest place and matured incrementally with the support of corporate partners. So what did they go through in developing this theory of performance, ladies and gentlemen? Now, of course, the first phase, as you can see, is learning theory as the starting point. So, of course, we shall not reveal the actual organizations, but that's how it started. XYZ Corporation requested the status theory of learning for corporate trainers to guide them in training decisions. So it was actually corporate organizations or an organization that requested for this kind of thing. So a synthesis of the learning theories and research yielded a simplified three-track learning theory conceptual framework, and that is now the behavioral, the Gestalt, and purposive behaviorism that evolved into the whole learning theory. Now, over the there's operationalization, confirmation, application have supported and tweaked the whole learning theory, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that was the first stage. The second stage was the training systems theory. So XYZ Corporation requested an expansion of the three-track learning theory into a systematic training technology system to be used by the corporate trainers. Now, the training system development effort involved researchers consulting with the training and development staff from multiple corporations, with a major decision being made that employee expertise be the primary purpose of training and systematic output. The third stage was the theory of work analysis. So expert and neophyte, how hourly and salaried workers were interviewed and observed on the job to better understand workplace expertise. So in other words, expert employees, those who had been at the workplace for quite some time, and the novice, those are the neophyte, hourly and salaried workers, were recruited and interviewed and observed on the job to better understand workplace expertise. And a major outcome was the creation of a work theory conceptualization, ladies and gentlemen, of procedure work, or process and troubleshooting work, and knowledge work, ladies and gentlemen. So, as you can see, fundamental development and refinement of the theory and methodology tools for analyzing these three types of work behavior expanded the theory realm of work analysis. Now, researchers carried out pre-experimental, confirmed, disconfirmed studies on the three work analysis methods, and of course, dozens of application cases were conducted in XYZ Corporation and numerous other corporations, ladies and gentlemen. And incremental changes were incorporated as a result. The fourth stage was the economic theory. XYZ Corporation felt pressure to be able to demonstrate financial return on training and work redesign investments coming out of the theory-driven systematic training and analysis of work expertise. So this initiated an articulation of the microeconomic theory along with the creation of a performance improvement economic model and a method of creating the linkage between systematic interventions, not just training, but performance outcome as well, ladies and gentlemen. So that took them to the fifth stage of training for performance systems, and based on work analysis theory and economic theory developments, researchers reconceptualized the training systems from training technology systems to the training for performance systems and non-training performance variables in the upfront training analysis. And in the follow-up evaluation, ladies and gentlemen, became part of the system, along with partnering with non-training personnel for more holistic interventions. That took them to the sixth level of theory of performance improvement. That's a robust theory now. The addition of the economic theory development experience along with a focus on larger systems performance as the ultimate organizational outcome established an expanded boundary deserving of its own theory, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, it became performance improvement with or without training and a conceptualization of a new theory. The theory of performance improvement applicable to organizations drew upon selected psychological, economic, and systems theories and integrated the three into a unique theory, ladies and gentlemen. And multiple visual conceptualizations accompanied this applied theory. And one is a three-legged stool with each leg representing a component theory leg, ladies and gentlemen. So another, of course, is a five-level taxonomy of performance going from understanding to invention or creation, and that is how the theory was developed. And the performance diagnosis matrix provides conceptual understanding and serves as a data collection and analysis tools. So these thinking tools are complemented by a series of high-level and detailed process tools, as you can see, that operationalize the performance improvement processes and confirmation largely through mixed methods, case analysis, case studies in a variety of private and public sector organizations, and of course application of theory has resulted in versions, in a number of revisions, giving us revised versions of the theories. Now, this example of theory building in applied discipline has been abbreviated, hopefully not abbreviated so much that the sense of adventure, growth, and advancement is lost, ladies and gentlemen. But at the end of the day, a theory that explains performance in organizations does exist. So, what are the insights and the general issues that are discussed under the refined phase of theory building. The refined phase features 3 general steps to consider, ladies and gentlemen, and these things are very important for us to understand this stage very well. So as you can see, the refined phase features 3 general steps to consider. 1 is generating new insights, 2, investigating new insights, ladies and gentlemen, and 3, updating the theory. And those stages are very important. So I'll explain these phases, but somehow you can see the diagram that is presented there. So, that diagram will stay there. For you to understand that what we go through in trying to understand the refined phase very well. So we generate new insights, as you can see. We investigate new insights, we update. So why don't I begin with the generating new insights, which is the second box there after the inputs, ladies and gentlemen. So as you can see, the new insights come from theorizing, research, and practice. That's where you pick the new insights. The phases aligned with these activities are all 4 of the preceding phases: conceptualize, operationalize, confirm, and apply. And these are the stages we had in theory building. So they are part of this generating new insights. Insights can come at any time, though they may, they most often emerge when putting the theory into practice in the apply phase, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see. Now, insights, adding refinement to the theory can be slight or specific, or they can be overwhelming and large scale in some cases. But either case requires changes to a theory, and when the changes could be fundamental, a choice is made to adjust or to start over, ladies and gentlemen. So insights from the confirm phase are specific to the accuracy and fit of the theory with the real world, ladies and gentlemen. And these are very important things. So that's why I say, in other words, they direct the theories to specific relationships, examining the theory, indicating areas where the thinking may not capture things as they are. So as you can see from the screen here, ladies and gentlemen, generating new insights is the second stage, and that takes us now to the second stage of investigating those new insights. And I'll just move very fast so that we are able to cover these aspects, and I think they are all summarized in the table that you have, or in the figure that is presented on the screen there. Investigate new insights is the third box, as you can see. Of course, as you can see, the phases of the theory that the new insights affect are important to consider. For example, insights that require changes to the conceptualized phase will require new thinking about the relationships involved and the boundaries. The measures will need to be identified and tested. And on the other hand, insights that suggest changes in the apply phase require the development of new practical procedures, but do not necessarily require adjustments in any of the phases, as you can see. But the complexity of modification to a theory is directly related to the allocation in the phases. In any case, when changes to a theory are made, evidence must be collected about the accuracy. So if you look at the diagram again that you have on the screen here, we go to the third, which is update the theory, ladies and gentlemen. And from updating the theory, we go to outputs. So the goal of the refined phase is simple: make non-fitting parts of the theory fit. And because fit with reality is the key, any modifications of the theory require the collection of evidence to confirm it. And once confirmed, the theory is updated. And there may be follow-up modifications to practical procedures in the apply phase, but this is entirely dependent on the types of changes. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are very important things, and we can now talk about the summary of the steps. Ladies and gentlemen, and the summary of the steps are very important because they tell us exactly how we move to try and deal with issues of refinements, ladies and gentlemen. So you can see the refined phase allows a great deal of freedom to the theorist, and the goal is to maximize the accuracy, fit, and confidence of the theory, and its connection to the real world. And this is very important. All of the resources and steps in the previous phases are considered fair game, and the theorist is free to move beyond those and use additional approaches as depicted by the figure that you see on the screen here. Often this phase requires work in multiple and theory building phases, and modifying theories is hard work, and there is no prescribed solution. However, the 5-phase theory building framework presented in this lecture functions as a guide for novice and experienced theorists alike, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, that is what you see in the diagram, as we have already said. So let's talk about the outputs. Since on the diagram you can see that's the last box, outputs of the refined phase. The primary output of the refined phase is a modern theory, meaning it is up to date, it is congruent with the current practices, and continues to show and continues to show results, ladies and gentlemen. This output is straightforward in that the weak and strong spots of the theory have been identified. Constant interplay between this and the other phases of theory building result in a theory that is modern and useful. And another important output of the refined phase is direction into one or more of the theory building phases to make modification. Now, this direction is based on learnings from the apply and refine phases. Now, both of these phases give insights to the theories that can be used to improve the theory, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I must prepare you that we are moving towards closing our lecture, but before that, I want to give you the quality indicators for the refined phase, and then thereafter give you a conclusion, and that will be the end of our theory building in this lecture, ladies and gentlemen. So let's look at the quality indicators. There are no unique quality criteria for the refined phase of theory building other than criteria carried forward from the other phases. So all the other issues that we did talk about are very critical, and the purpose of this phase is to recognize that theories are never really complete, right? Their continuous molding and shaping comes from integration of research, theory, and practice, and gives the theorist a sense of which area may provide the greatest opportunities for advancing the theory. Again, the refined phase ultimately pushes the theorist back to one or more of the other theory building phases to make improvements that enhance the accuracy or fit of the theory in the real world. Now, if the defined quality indicators in each phase, ladies and gentlemen, have been used, then the resulting theory will meet the desired results of each phase. Don't forget, right, theory building is a continuous process because of the changes you have out there, the reality and the inability to capture reality, right? But in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, this lecture has given structure to the refinement of the theories. This lecture has dealt with many issues relating to refinements. The refined phase mandates the continuous improvement of theories and directs the theories to one or more previous phases in which to make adjustments and improvements, ladies and gentlemen. Again, as we've already seen, open and thoughtful minds are required to consider feedback about the utility of theories, especially when the theorist has a hard time stepping back to look at the larger picture. In the end, the theory must aid in the thinking and practice of an instance of human systems interactions, ladies and gentlemen, and the theory and the theorist in this case must be open to adjustments as the surrounding worlds of knowledge and practice are constantly changing, because that's what really happens at the end of the day. So, why don't I then give you the summary of the 5-phase general method of theory building in applied disciplines, because now we are concluding. So I want to put together all of those things that we have picked right from our lecture 5, which is the conceptualized phase, up to now the last lecture, which is the refined phase, ladies and gentlemen. So the refined phase in this case completes the presentation of major steps required for sound theory building, and previous lectures have covered each of the other 4 phases in detail, including guided provided instruction for applying the tools and concepts we have presented. It is important to realize that the phases are interconnected and work together as a system, and this representation gives the whole perspective of theory building in applied disciplines. And taken from this point of view, it should be easier to observe that the phases connect directly with each other, and that changes in one area require the contribution and consideration of changes throughout the other phases. It should also be easy to see that most theory building efforts are concentrated in one of these phases. By giving structure, definition to each phase, we have raised the bar for what might be called theory. We have also provided tools and frameworks for the challenging and stimulating work of theory building in applied disciplines, ladies and gentlemen. And I must thank you for having attended this lecture and the previous lectures on theory building. And as I said earlier on, our next lecture will deal with the issues of conceptual models, conceptual frameworks, and theoretical models and theoretical frameworks, with an objective of trying to draw a distinction between these two. I hope you'll be with us in our lecture 14 to try and examine these things in detail, lecture 14, 15, and 16. I must thank you, and probably I can say stay well, stay safe, have a nice time, bye.